Hey, Red River Podcast 192. Man, this is we're heading to 200, which is meaningless and
Amazing.
it's like when hip hop artists put out like sequels. It's like, oh, this
Uh,
is this is this is only built for Cuban Links 2. It's
Hey, I
like, all
like that
right,
CD. I like
I
that one.
whatever,
Took
sure,
us
why not?
8 years to get to 200.
Yeah. Wow, listen, in our defense, if this felt like something, if it felt like a job, it just wouldn't be fun. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it's just
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
like so today we have my buddy Pat, aka Lieutenant Headtrip, from the Karma Kids, man. I haven't seen you in a minute, so we have a lot to talk about because I don't even remember the last time I seen you, but I know you have a project out called Emblems that we're gonna get to. And I just want to like set the table basically. Like
Hmm.
I met you. I remember when I saw we had mutual friends and they were in a band called the Roosevelts, right?
Yep.
And then we had a show in Lindenhurst at the Brew House,
The Brew
and
House.
this, which is now Ruby Soho, which is now Ruby Soho, doing very well. And the Roosevelts brought out their friends that were just this duo, and I'm like, okay, it's like a hip hop duo. And from that moment on, because you never know, right? We're playing like a punk show, and
Hmm.
like, but you guys had the energy of a punk band, and
Yeah.
I saw Sarcasmo, which is what you guys were at the time,
Hmm.
and it fucking like blew my mind. So like, what was the link up with those guys?
I went to college with Tim Lee and Nick Pasilis, who are the guitarist and the bassist of the Roosevelts. And we ended up getting a house together my sophomore year, their junior year, and we just throw punk slash rap shows in our basement. And then a couple of years later, we hopped on the. We had begged the Roosevelts like, get us a show. We want to play a bar. Come on, let us out of the basement because we've been throwing those shows and recording their demos in basements for like a year or two at that point. And they were like, I don't know if it's gonna fly because we were wild, like
You were
I
wild.
was rip my shirt off, beat myself into the face till I bled. Like we were wild.
Yeah.
And also they were barely making the shows that they booked for themselves, like
Yeah, yeah.
they were new and they were drunk psychos too. Like it was great. And
It was a fun time.
it was a fun time. And so I
That's
would
a
go
hell of a name, I gotta say.
to
I never heard
Roosevelt's.
that. That's incredible.
Yeah, dude. So good. I mean, they were great. They were a great little three-piece, like pop punk band. Like they were digressive. Like they from pop punk, they like took a big step back into just like angry chaos, but they were still using the chords and writing about their feelings and stuff. And I was really their hype man in a lot of ways. Like I would just go to all the shows with my homies and start mosh pits in the crowd of 20, much to like some of the older punks' dismay. They thought those days were over. But it was fun. Like we met a lot of cool people, and then eventually we got invited to play the show at the Brew House, and this might have been the first one that we played in public with these guys. And we just did our thing. I remember we played "Broken Face" by the Pixies, and started a pit and then hopped back on. And at the time, we still had a bunch of our friends in college to come out to the shows, so we had like a pack with us,
Yo,
you know.
you guys rolled deep for sure. That's the one
Yeah,
thing. Even like the Roosevelts, like you guys just all
yeah.
had this like connection from 55 Clemente, right?
You know it.
Yeah.
55 Clemente, dog.
So, and it was on the shirt, and you guys rolled deep.
Yep.
And the one thing too, I will say, so Sam or Tim really, but Samurai Banana, like your
Yeah.
DJ and producer at the time, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Still, I mean, I still work with him.
He's a fucking goddamn genius. And
Yeah.
he's like, if you see him, like he's like a very unsuspecting guy, but the shit he makes is like you're a fucking musical genius. And then like during the
Yeah.
show, what really, captured me was like obviously the flow and just the energy, but also like the production and
Hmm.
everything about it. So I was from that moment on, I was just like Sarcasmo. I fuck with
Yeah.
you guys. Pixies, Broken Face. I fuck with you guys. You know, because like once you start
Yeah.
combining those two worlds, sometimes those two worlds never combine.
Right. But they're so similar, like the anti-establishment rhetoric, the DIY attitude, the fast-paced, like in punk it's more so like the rhythm and the drums are fast-paced, and in hip hop it's more so the lyricism that's fast-paced. But there's an urgency to a very important element in both of these genres. I've always seen just so many correlations, and that day at the brew house started like a really fun run where I got to play punk shows all over Long Island with all these different bands that some of them I'd been watching for a couple years, some of them I was just getting to know. And I loved it. It melded very well. Charlie Cassay and Michael Clarity did a good job of booking those multi-genre shows for us. And it got me my like initial New York fan base for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And the thing with you, like I never noticed or knew, but you were like my when I spoke to you on the phone, you said something about I'm like visiting my hometown and it was Ohio. I never knew that
Right.
that's where you were from. So like what was that like? So like you grow up in Ohio and
Hmm.
like you're slightly younger than we are. So like what was the vibe out there like before you left? Like what was the music scene? What was the hip hop scene?
Well,
Were you
there
in a
wasn't
city out there, or was it like a
I was in a college
rural?
town, Kent. So
Oh,
you
okay,
guys know about Kent State University,
sure.
the massacre on May 4th, 1970. Fuck Star Wars Day. That day is about police brutality, you know. So there was an anti-establishment rhetoric where I came from because the second those May 4th attacks happened, like we went from the town went from being like peace-loving hippies in a college town to like we peacefully protested and they shot and killed us. So no more peaceful protest, anger. And like that informed a lot of the music in the region. Like at the time, Akron had a really cool hardcore scene. There was some punk in Akron and Cleveland. There was some rap in Cleveland that I wasn't really associated with. And then there was a lot of indie rock in Kent. So I grew up like going to house shows and stuff and plugging my iPod in between hardcore acts in Akron and doing a song or two. And I was just like really heady, you know, societal observation stuff back then. Did a lot of open mic nights. I ran an open mic night at my school, did some coffee shops, and I was like, I just got to get to New York. I just got to get my ass to New York City because I'm the best rapper in Kent, Ohio. Like I don't want to be the best rapper. I'm 17 years old. You know, like
Yeah, yeah.
take me somewhere where I have competition, where I can find people who can give me advice, can help me grow. And I shot for New York City and landed in Nassau County, which was, I didn't totally understand. Uh, but it ended up
You
being dope.
overshot it. You
I
overshot
did.
it.
Shot for the
Yeah,
moon, hit
it's
Hofstra. And
only a
so,
few miles out, technically, but it might as well
yeah,
be another like
yeah,
planet.
man.
What made you not play in a band? Like so for me, like I
Yeah.
remember being in love with hip hop culture and Langan too, for sure. Like we loved like that was the universe. Like growing up, like
Mhm.
we're in the towns that I grew up. For some reason, South Shore seems to be like all the band related stuff. Like where I grew up in like Selden and like in the middle somewhere, everything was DJ culture. So every house party had a
Yeah.
DJ. Everyone had like rappers like RA or DJ Ev or whoever from like that area. And in my head, I'm thinking like I would see like I just was in love with DJ culture. Like I
Yeah.
didn't even want to rap. I just wanted to like mix the music and blend it and stuff like that. So like how did you just decide to rap instead of like if you were so entrenched in like rock music?
Well, I couldn't sing, and I'm a front man, so like it was tricky. I learned some guitar, I switched to bass and learned a lot of bass, but I wanted to do weird things with my bass. I wanted to do like primacy percussive stuff. And none of the all the bands were like Q and Not You or Thursday,
Wow,
just
Q and Not
like
You, that's a good one.
yeah. And so like I just kind of went in middle school, starting in 6th grade, my music teacher, Mrs. Wade, taught us how to use Sonic Foundry Acid Pro. I guess, yeah, it was Sonic Foundry and iMovie. And so, like, I was using a DAW. I was producing from 6th grade on. And basically, I put the pieces together then in high school. Like, I was like, I've been making rap music for fun. while trying to get this band off the ground. Fuck everybody. I'm just gonna make rap music.
Yeah. Yeah, Sonic Foundry, man, that's old school. That's
That's old school.
Yeah.
fucking Cool Edit Pro I was fucking with. I was fucking with Drum
Cool Edit Pro.
Station,
Yeah, that's a
Fruity
good one
Loops, of
too. Fruity
course.
Loops before it was FL Studio.
Yeah, man.
Yup. I still rap over a beat that my homie and Kent made on Fruity Loops. That's classic stuff. I mean, I got started young. I also, finally was introduced in high school to like weird rap. Outcast, right? Andre blew my mind. I'd been listening to ODB, Gorillaz, and Def Jux, like MF Doom, Def Jux. I finally heard that stuff thanks to Tony Hawk Pro Skater, and like I was like, oh, you can do this and sell it? Great! I'm gonna just do what I want to do,
Right,
and I
you're
just stuck
right.
with it.
Because there was that thing, right? So like
Yeah.
when you figure like I remember listening, right? So like that so Doomsday had to be like 99, probably, right? And it's
Hmm.
just like it had that like split branch of like, okay, like this is popular, and then you go a little bit, Fun Crusher Plus comes out,
Yeah.
and I remember like
96.
those things were like really devastating. Like like I remember like the first time I heard any of that stuff or like nonfiction,
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, like this is fucking like there was that thing where it's just I remember just thinking, like any dickhead that found Fugazi or something, be like,
Right.
well, I'm gonna listen to this. It's like, oh, I'm gonna listen to fucking Company Flow, and I'm
Right.
not gonna listen to fucking I don't know whatever the fuck was popping
Whatever's
off at the
popping. Lil Wayne.
Yeah.
I didn't listen to Lil Wayne in high school because I
yeah.
was so like, if it's not underground, I don't want anything to do with it. You're just trying to sell me shoes. I was so anti-mainstream.
I was too, and that's like now I look back, yo, I'll go
And
out
I'm like, Lil
somewhere.
Wayne's dope. Damn.
Yo, right,
I fucked
right.
up. I
I
fucked up.
swear to God, I've had this conversation where I'm like, I go out somewhere and I hear back that thing up, and I'm like, that's pretty
Damn.
good.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
should have been listening to Jay-Z all these years. But
Yeah,
it helped me like I can only intake so much because I output so much. And I just like, I heard some of this weird music and I looked at my notebooks, and on one side are these like strange lyrics that I've been trying to figure out melodies to. On the other side are these like strange drawings that I draw in the dark because my parents made me go to bed, and I just like stay up all night drawing literally in the dark. And I was like, I can just combine all this, and that's me. And I just went with it and ran with it. And then when I like overshot New York, and I couldn't seem to like get into a hip hop scene. They just didn't get me. I was like too weird. I was too abrasive. I wasn't humble at all. Cause you gotta toe this line in hip hop where you're like the
Yeah.
least humble person ever on the mic, but
yeah,
then in general and with your stage presence and with all this other stuff, you're supposed to be like very respectful and humble. And I never balanced that well. I was just always lit up and excited. And oh, you want to hear me rap? Here I go. So the punk rock scene in Long Island was like, we're, we're too busy talking shit on how this other guy isn't playing his guitar right, and they just sound like Blink 182 and they just sound like whatever. And they didn't have anything for me. They were like, oh, okay, that was pretty cool. And that's pretty much where it ended. Some people were like, oh, I can see a little Aesop, I can see a little atmosphere, or whatever. But most
yeah,
people were just like, not our genre, kind of relieved. That was a blast.
yeah. There is that thing of like whenever you play shows, where it's like it's good to blend in, but it's also good to stick out.
Yeah.
So like sometimes you get thrown in like that mixed bill, like we were just talking about. A friend of mine once told me about my band. He's like, "You guys are like an indie rock band living in a punk rock universe," and I
Yes.
was just like, "Hmm." I'm like,
Which is
"Interesting."
fun. You guys
Um,
are like
Pretty.
the Weezerist of all those punk rock bands.
yeah,
Uh,
which makes sense. That's the DNA.
right.
That's the
Which makes
DNA.
me
Sure.
very happy. That's why I'm such a fan.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
oh, you're gonna combine some punk rock with some Weezer? Let's get it.
So, yeah, and then like it's good to basically do that stuff. So, you, how did you start like? Because right now, like, so we are the Karma Kids,
Hmm.
turned into like a label, right? Like, so
Right.
you're putting out all the projects. Because man, I remember like Bald Afro. I
Yep.
remember Boogie. I remember Gruff
Yep.
Lion. I
Yep.
remember Dunce Cap.
Oh yeah.
Um,
And a
so
lot of them are still at it. It was just basically, I had the tools. I figured out, I was like, fuck y'all don't want to be in a band with me. I'm going to produce, record, write, mix, make the album artwork, and figure out how to play shows and release physicals all on my own. And I did it, and then graduated. I'd gone to school with Googie, Gruff, Banana, Dunce. Like these were all my college friends to a degree. And after we graduated, me and Banana were just still going strong. And so when they wanted to come back into the scene, we were there and we're like, oh yeah, we have resources. And
Yeah.
then we all just ended up like vibing. And so we just made music together and toured for like 5, 6 years.
Yeah, you guys are definitely busy doing your fucking thing, making the
Yeah.
videos, and you know what it is too.
The videos, that was like the first time that you reconnected. You were like, damn, you guys are really out here making the videos because Dunscat made our videos. So when he came back into the fold, it was like the crew was constantly churning out music videos. And that was big in 2013, 14, 15 because people didn't have iPhones. You know, you had to have a camera guy with a camera
Yeah.
to make something that looked good.
Yeah, and that's the beauty now of like the technology. Like I always laugh, you know, because we're kids of MTV, especially me and Brian, where it's
Yeah.
like you paid $1 million and Slash is like playing a solo on a mountain somewhere, and you're just like,
Yeah, yeah.
sure, why not? Oh, Axel's like, hey, let's throw in a fucking whale in this video.
Yeah.
But now you know the DIY spirit you have, I
Mhm.
have. Like you, it's like, okay, my friend does this, my friend does that, I do this, we can get together and just put this.
Yep.
A lot of times people like, yo, I like this song, I like, you know, your band or whatever, let's make a video. And it's like,
Right.
unlike some people, you know what I mean? Like you're talking to the right guy, because I'm not gonna I'm not stopping until that video's done. You know what I mean? Like some people
Yeah.
just like never there. You know, the one thing I admire about you, I admire doers, and you
Yep.
are a doer, and
I
you're
get it done.
constantly putting out shit.
Can't stop me.
You know, that's it. And I feel the same way. It's like, you know, I look at like time and I'm like, damn, time is like, you know, time is referenced too on emblems a lot for
Yeah.
sure. As time goes on, you just like look back and you're like, yeah, like I gotta make shit. I gotta make shit. Gotta
Got to
keep
do it.
making shit, you know?
Yeah, you're a band leader. You know, I'm a band leader. I have to do the damn thing. And I moved out of New York, I got divorced, people went back to college, blah da 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 da. Karma Kids split up. I just paid everybody out, was like, love you guys, come visit me on Block Island while I try to get my life back together for a summer. And then I was just building over into quarantine. I was just writing and creating and finishing projects. And I was not going to put anything out on Karma Kids anymore and was just going to focus on my solo shit. And then my dude Teddy Faley was like, yo, what up? Put my album out. And I was like, we're back. And now we're back. So
Yeah.
Karma Kids lives, and everybody can thank Teddy Faley for that. And now, you know, it's a little different. I'm not like living with my homies. I'm not like playing Mario Party till 5 a.m. and then making a song with my homies. I'm doing that stuff on my own now, and also from afar helping people. Although I am back east. I was in Portland for 3 years, but I'm in the DC area now.
Oh yeah,
I
yeah,
can see
yeah.
the Capitol building right out this window here.
You were
Um,
make you yeah, you I forgot you went to
I
Portland.
did. I went west. Yeah, you
What
can
was that
thank Port.
like?
How do you find like your style being, your style so unique and shit? You mentioned touring before. How'd you find
Yeah.
like you were received on the road or different places that were better than others or how the West Coast was?
I found that going up and down like the East Coast was fun, and people were surprised, but they were like, "Oh yeah, my cousin's in a punk rock band." And going to Chicago and passing through Kent, and I touched down in Kent every couple years or so and played shows, and people are always a little like, "What the fuck?" about what we were doing on stage, but eventually they were like, "Those beats are dope, your DJ's dope, you got bars, and your energy's cool," you know. I could always find fans, especially if I was on proper bills, but then when we started touring with Googie, like Googie, I'd be like, all right, Googie, you're gonna start off this set. Or Banana would be like, yeah,
Yeah,
because
Googie's
he can just
fucking
make, yeah,
he's got like
He's
Y-
something else. He's
Yeah.
special, and he's got a much more traditional hip hop vibe. And so we would
Yeah.
like give him a little bit of that and a little bit of me, and they were happy. And then Googie would go, "Let's fuck with these motherfuckers," and like jump on my back and be like, "Now we're doing the nasty shit." I mean, he was the one that pushed a lot of that. So we were received as well as you would imagine. But then I moved to Portland, and I'd only played like a handful of shows out west. We did a little tour years and years ago, and I came in too hot, like people didn't know what to do with me. It'd be different if I was playing a one-off, but I was like, I'm trying to like get into circles here so I can talk to people about shit. So what I did was I brought the temperature down a little bit, hung out with DJs instead of rappers, and just like continued to write. And I mean, I wrote 3 albums while I was there in 3 years, and finished up more music. And Emblems is the first of those 3 that I wrote in Portland.
But you
And
link
I
up with the producers, right? Like, cause
Yeah, so
is
that's what I did. Through the
okay.
DJs, I found producers, right? Blood Money's a producer and a rapper, but I was like, let's go with his production. And so I like allowed, and I'm not gonna spill the beans on who else I worked with out there, but like they are West Coasters, and I let them kind of dictate the soundscape that I would write over while I was there, and that helped me accumulate a catalog to kind of perform while I was out there. I rewrote like my intro tracks so that I could like show up with a little more vibiness. I put some double time back in my set, and I smoked a bunch of CBD to try to chill out. And then I got them there, instead of just hitting them hard. I like got them there eventually. And I'm still
Yeah.
on the ground with my shirt off, rolling around, and 3 people walk out because they're like, I'm so confused. But
Yeah.
you know, I'm me. At the end of the day, I'm
They're not
still
going to
just
forget you
me.
though.
We're not gonna forget you.
Right. Right. And I'm
Yeah.
not gonna, and I'm, look, I'll start the conversation calmly. Sure. If that's what it takes for people to like kind of get into it. But I'm not gonna half-ass who I am. Nobody wants to see that. Maybe they think they do, but like at the end of the day, when I shift into fucking fifth gear, they're like, "Oh, there it is." Right? It just some people need to go through the rest of the gears before they get there. And that's kind of what I found in Portland. Now, there's also a lot of punk rock out there, and there's also a lot of super weird shit out there. I just didn't really get a chance to play the house shows and the punk shows and the under the bridge hardcore shows and stuff. I was mostly doing rap shit in Portland, which I loved, and I'm gonna continue to get back there a couple times a year and play. That place is wild. I miss
You
it a
got
lot.
still got friends out there?
Oh yeah, for sure,
Yeah.
for sure. But it's good
Uh
to be back east at the same time. I can't stop me. I keep it moving.
yeah, one of the things that I wanted to mention before we talk about emblems is the Steinway album.
Hmm.
Killer.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that was just a bunch of songs that didn't make it onto Karma Kids records in the teens.
Yeah.
And, just because, I don't know, for one reason or other, you know what it's like. The song could be an incredible song, but it has to be an opener. So you can't put it on the CD because you already have an opener. And so that was like a COVID project. I pieced together a bunch of like misfit songs and added my bass guitar, and I had this organ in the place that I was quarantined, and I just like made that into a complex, dynamic, cohesive album, and just kind of like dropped it as an offering, it's like a transitional goodbye Queens for me. Like that era of the Karma Kids is over, and here's this celebration of all the music we made. I have
Did you
Chris
produce
Baltris
it?
is on that song. Yeah, it's all my production.
Man, it's so
Mhm.
good. It's
Thank you.
really like it might be like like probably one of my favorite things that you've done. Like I
Thanks.
really paid like extra attention to it this time around. But Baltris is on. What's he on?
Yeah. So we sampled a
I
ton
love
of
that.
tracks off of the his band name escapes me right now. They just put out more shit. Let Me Crazy.
Oh,
So
so I'll cut you off real quick. The episode before this one was Jake Freeman. We were talking about
yes.
Beetlejuice, who's the drummer of Let Me Crazy.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's Kismet. So I love Let Me Crazy. They just I will forever listen to their music. They
sure.
just put out some new stuff. So I sampled a bunch of Let Me Crazy. I put it into a drum machine and just like brown, brown. I made the beat with Banana and then laid some bass over it and wrote about what that Let Me Crazy album is about, which is like post-apocalyptic, but we're still gonna go try to surf, like
Yes.
so I wrote that song about that exact topic, and then we just had it in the can forever. Again, these were just songs that were like unfinished or just didn't get a release for one reason or another, and I just had time, and I wasn't writing lyrics, so I was like, screw it, I'm just gonna write music, and it was fun. Again, I had this like crazy organ just like sitting in the living room where I was quarantined, and I just went at it. My partner helped me find the notes on the piano next to me, and then I'd play them on the organ. And it was great to just bring these verses back to life. It's my favorite album of mine too, because it's not just me rapping. It's everybody
It's the
doing crazy
crew,
shit.
man. It's got
Jules
yeah.
Baxter, Googie, Gruff Lion, Dunce Cap, Big Breakfast is on there. Like there's just everybody's a part of it,
Yeah.
which is a beautiful thing.
I love it. And do you ever, obviously for a guy that went to school for linguistics,
Hmm.
um, I find the older I get and the more normal my life is, the harder it is for me to write lyrics. So I have to like go outside of things now. Like I'm gonna tell you a funny story. So we have a
Hit
new
me.
song coming out on Friday,
Nice.
and the this song I wrote a song on a record last year called Evelyn.
Hmm.
Uh and my girlfriend heard it and she's like, "Who the fuck is Evelyn?" And I was like, first of all, I'm like, don't do this shit because this is my fuck like this is don't fuck with my shit. This is my shit. Don't fuck with my shit. I'll write
Amen.
about whatever I want to write about. And then I was like, and second of all, listen to the song. It has nothing to do with anything. So the chorus goes, Aveline, so, and originally it was I can't believe, and I just threw the name Evelyn in there
Yeah.
because it's such a Weezer thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
That I and then I told the band, I was like, should I do I can't believe or Aveline? And they were like, oh yeah, just keep the name. And I'm like, yeah, that sounds cooler. And then my girlfriend heard it and I laughed about it. So I wrote a song about her being upset about that song, and I played it for her, and the chorus goes, because I'm thinking, like, what else do you want me to write about? The chorus is like, the bed is made, the bills are paid, the cats are fed, and you're still in my head just the same as
Oh,
you always were. Because I'm thinking, like, what the fuck else you want me to write about? Our fucking life,
right,
like, our life is fucking normal, like.
right.
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah,
as
man.
as time goes on, do you ever like have a hard time maybe finishing a song lyrically? Because it just seems like you don't.
Yeah, well, I I don't mind having what people refer to as writer's block because I do so many other things. So the day that my pen's a little dry, I just start mixing, make some beats, book some shows, make a music video. And during that, I watch a ton of movies. I don't watch a lot of TV shows, but there's a lot of good limited series that I should get into. But I watch a ton of movies, and I read, and I just kind of fill back up my tank. And then the day that I start writing again, I just don't stop. That's when I don't play any video games. I don't watch any movies. I don't listen to music on my commutes. I just write because when my pen's hot, it's hot. I don't sleep. I just write. And then it goes away again. I feel that I've seen so many artists start off with so much oomph behind their music and their message and then kind of away because they're not young. And when you're young and you don't know a lot, you think you know everything. And so it's easy to be passionate and adamant. And then as you get older, you learn how wrong you were. I feel like a lot of people
So true.
identify, right? I feel like a lot of people identify with youth, and that's part of their identity. And people have been asking me how old I am a lot recently because I'm like going out to places where there's a lot of like 20 to, young 30-year-olds. And they're like, wait, you're not, we go outside, it's a little brighter. And they're like, this guy's old. And I'm like, and they're like, how do you stay young? And I was like, I don't worry about being young. Now, of course, I do internally,
Sure.
but I think the point is you can't get caught up on the fact that you were wrong. You know more today than you ever knew. You have more information in your head than you've ever had. Just turn that into something. It doesn't have to feel incredible to start. I remember I used to get these waves of inspiration and write a song. And now I write a song and I get a wave of inspiration. Just work from the other side, right? You've written enough songs. You don't need to feel something to start writing. Just start writing. And maybe you'll end up throwing it out, but that can get you in the headspace. I feel like too many people wait for motivation or wish they could feel the way that they felt or sad that the homies aren't in the studio helping them make music. But I have them all in my head and I just get to work. It's my job.
Yeah.
And if I keep at it, maybe it will be my only job, right? Like, so I just keep doing it. I don't run out of things to write about because there are too many things to ever possibly write about.
Yeah.
Read some short stories. I got a Jill Scott Heron book next to my bed. It's got poems in it. Just bust it open, read a few of those. There you go.
Yeah, Sam, read some books, Sam.
we
Read a
have
fucking book, bro.
we have we have this ongoing joke on the show that I just don't read.
Yeah. Hey, my DJ reads more than I do.
Yes, that's what lyric is that? That's the first. Oh yeah, that's the first
That's the
song.
first. That's the first line of Emblems. It's
All
about
right.
banana. He reads way more than I do. That dude reads his ass off.
If it didn't make sense the first time, it's because I didn't want it to. They call me Head Trip. Need I remind you? Right.
Amen.
So
Yep.
that's the first line that you say off of Emblems,
Yep. That's
and
the ends the first verse.
so when you do like Lieutenant Head Trip, like do you differentiate? It's like a different headspace than like like when you do Bald Afro or anything else like that.
I used to Head Trip used to be me, and then I turned Head Trip into a character so that I could push the boundaries. I loved freaking people out. I love waking people up. And then I kind of allowed the two sides to merge because I was kind of sick of being so narrow in my approach to my writing. And so now you get all the different flavors that you hear of Head Trip on Emblems. You can just have that all in one. Bald Afro, I was next to Googie, and so I juxtaposed myself next to him. I definitely tried to out rap him on like a lyrical syllabic level, and we had a friendly competition, but I kept it dark and I kept it psycho. And my flow is my least appealing flow ever. I'm like up and down, I'm all over the place. I kind of scream because I know that at the end of the verse, Googie's going to show up and make everybody happy. So I could take bigger risks with that. And I left some of those experiments there, but I carried it with them. I think that every album is kind of just a culmination of the stuff before it. I just kind of try to learn from what I did before.
What are some of like your favorite like unconventional rappers with their flow? Like, what are some rappers that, through the years from like, the beginning of listening to hip hop till now that you were like, yeah, you know what? Like, maybe not as many people fuck with you, but like,
hmm
I appreciate what you do.
You know, a lot of rappers talk about having a million styles, and most of them have one, especially the ones rapping about how many styles they have. But I've said it before and I'll say it again. ODB really rocked my brain. But at an early age, I mean, I listened to ODB in middle school, so I already knew that you could do crazy shit when I was a kid. And then I heard Company Flow's album after falling in love with Fantastic Damage and was
Oh
like,
wow.
who's the other guy? You know? And Big just like again redefined the possibilities to unlock different kinds of flow. And then I heard Pharaoh Monch,
Mm.
and he really inspired me to not just go straight through some double time. You can go up and down, right? Wait, give it a minute. I think the inevitable catalyst finally took it. Administer seminal action in a gentleman's fashion, the vibe of the crooks. Like you can go all over the place with that. In fact, that's from the intro that I rewrote, which is a nod to Pharaoh Monch. I go, y'all know the name, Lieutenant Head Trip, and a damn thing changed. Wait, give it a minute. I think right. So I'm like, that's some Simon Says shit.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
then And so that was in college, and then I'll give you one from post college. Sketch 185. So Sketch 185 is a
Who's on the
rapper
album?
who's on the album
Yeah.
from Chicago. He put out a record with Backwoods, produced by Jeff Markey. And that dude, I mean, he used to talk to me about how him and his homies would write too many words and then try to cram them into a line when it doesn't sound good and make it sound good. There you go. That's how you sound unique, right? You just like
Yeah.
do the impossible. And so like to find inspiration in these guys. Now, that's the first thing I hear, right? When I listen, it takes me a while to decipher lyrics. I don't go for that first. I listen for flow and rhythm initially when I listen to rappers. And I'm always happy to see rappers live who push themselves. In the studio, you can take a sip of water, take a big breath, cut in.
Yeah.
But live, you take too big a breath and now you have to fit that whole verse into what you just said, right?
Yeah.
Like you skip a beat and you still want to say all the stuff, so you say it really fast. So that's one of my favorite things about watching rappers live is watching them fuck up, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then they have to overcorrect. And I think that that's where a lot of my style came from was rapping drunk, rapping through shitty sound systems, rapping while
Shitty
doing
sound
100
systems. Yeah.
things, right? And just like let's actually make this the aesthetic. But all respect to ODB. That dude really changed stuff for me.
Yeah, I mean, the deep cuts on there, cutting heads, snakes,
Mhm.
all that shit. Just
Yeah,
like
sure.
I love that album. So Blood Money Perez and you have Emblems.
Yeah.
Tell me about him. What's his deal?
Blood Money's a producer and a rapper that's been around. He was raised in the Bay and New York. He lived in Pittsburgh for a while, and then he was living in Portland. I met him. He was making music, but he was also part of Syphil, Shut Your Fucking Face and Listen, which was an early blog back in the blog era of hip hop. And he then branched out and started his own blog, which was Damn That Noise. And he was one of the guys that was covering the Karma Kids back in like the Dunce Cat video heyday of the Karma Kids. And we just kept in touch for a long time. And I was going out there to visit the woman who I would eventually move out there for, Portland. And I went out to Portland, was like, let's get a drink. And I really liked the vibe. And he was like, I'll send you a beat pack. And did. And I just started writing the day I touched down in Portland. Literally, I moved into a shitty motel, looked for an apartment, and started writing to his beats. And I was like, oh, okay. Like it made sense. I just looked
Yeah.
around and was like, oh, this is Portland. Um, and
You
then and then we finished the record slowly because he moved up to Seattle and then Alaska, but we just did it remote. And
Alaska. Damn.
I know, right? He gets around. He gets around.
Hell yeah. I mean, so when I have a piece of music that I'm trying to like write a chorus for or melody or just lyrics to,
Hmm.
you basically just do what we do, right? You just like walk around and just listen to it all day long, just
Yep.
write shit
Yep.
down. Do you find yourself going with like the first like do you just know right away or do you like crumple up that piece of paper and just start over a lot?
I don't usually start over entirely.
Yeah.
I can still hear hooks that I've abandoned over certain songs in my head. I do trust that first instinct,
Yeah. Yep.
but I don't always like the lyrics. So I do that thing where I put on a beat and I just go, "Banana, banana, banana, gotta do it, summertime blah."
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
later that turns into, always is blunt raps and dope hooks. Gotta take the heat to keep it home cooked, right? Like I do the gibberish and I'll record it into my phone. I'll record a voice memo and then the verses are a little different. I start writing a verse and I just go. I just kind of freestyle the beginning of every song. And then if I've found a topic, I'll go back and rewrite the first couple lines with the same exact rhythm so that it's on topic from the jump. But you'll notice on a lot of, especially my earlier stuff, the first two lines don't make any sense. And then from there, I find a topic. I'm
Yo,
like, whatever.
home cooked is the one you were just humming and probably
Hmm.
my favorite hook on the Emblems album.
Hell yeah.
Uh Everybody want to stay at the Best Western, right? So listen, anytime I'll tell you this, anytime we played out of state, I don't want to stay anywhere but a fucking hotel. So like, but I mean,
Yeah.
for you as a guy that's toured way more than I did, what's some of the wildest places you stayed at?
We stayed, oh man, we were north of Little Rock, Arkansas. And Googie was like, "Dog, I don't like this." We're just like driving into the fucking country. And there are people on their porches watching us. I'm with this dude, Ray Strife from Jersey. And we have a short bus that's painted bright red that we're touring in. Khalil Ali was with us. And we pull up and it's the end of the road and there's just a little house and a garage, and we played in this garage with like a punk band and another rapper, and these kids were so psyched to see us, and we were just on high alert. We had like a punk jam afterwards that I like sadly lost all the recordings to, but then we had already seen the inside of the house, and I brought a tent with me on that tour. It was too hot to sleep in the tent, so I slept under this old pool table that was completely covered in pizza boxes that had half-eaten pizzas in them for like weeks, months maybe. Just pizza everywhere. And Googie was on this love seat that was just soggy.
So,
And
Ugh.
Ray Strife was sober, so we always gave him the best place to sleep because he was the backup driver. We had a dude driving. The driver slept in the bus, and I don't even know where Khalil was, but I remember like that was the moment where I was like, well, underneath the table is the place where people have stepped the least
yeah,
and are going to step the least. So when these people that are still partying walk around, they're not going to step on my head,
yeah.
bro. And like we did a lot of shows like that just to connect the dots. And like looking back, I still have a back. You know, my spine still works. Some of my tour mates are pissed at me. Googie was always the biggest trooper. He was like, "I'm just gonna get 3 hours and then we're gonna wake up and go." He learned how to drive so that he could drive us out of situations like that.
Oh yeah,
You
yeah.
know, why not? But
Shout
I
out to
gotta
Good.
say,
Shout out to
shout out
Googie.
to Googie. That's my dude. I get to see him tomorrow.
Cool.
I'm playing in Brooklyn tomorrow.
Oh, where at?
Secret Pour.
Oh, yeah.
It's a little venue. I don't really know where it is either, to be completely honest. I haven't played there yet. But you know, I feel like we usually knew where we were gonna stay, even if we didn't know how bad it was gonna be. That's something that like I learned early on when NASA and a bunch of the Reservoir Sound guys and I were on tour together, and our everything fell through and we had all been drinking and we just like had to drive for a while. Nobody had money. How are we going to get a hotel? We didn't get paid at this show. Somebody fell asleep at the wheel and you know, under the rumble strips, and I was like, all right, we got to at least have a shitty plan even
Yeah.
if it's not the best plan. But as I said, you know, slept on more couches, staying with someone's fond memories than I can remember. Got paid to rock a set there. What do I care? Googie in the armchair. Getting bigger checks gets expensive, so I hear. Suddenly everybody want to stay at the Best Western.
That's
The
right.
second you start making more money is when you start spending more money, right? It's always a balance game.
Absolutely, yeah. So uh, elementary space madness, like Young Daddy, I gotta say, can't really find too much about them,
Hmm.
but
Yeah, she was in a group called Your Mystery Guest, and that's where
okay,
you'll find most of her music. But
yeah, because
she
she
didn't
sounds
really,
like she
yeah,
killed it.
I
She
know.
killed it.
She's incredible. She set that off. I sent her that beat before I wrote to it, and she
Yeah,
sent me back a verse, and that informed the entire song.
the flow was like, I'm like listening to this, going like, it was just, it kind of like blew me away. I was like, who the
Hmm.
fuck is Young Daddy? I'm like,
It
what?
reminds me of like Mace. You know, it reminds
Yes,
me of like very chill Biggie. It reminds me of even Jay-Z back in 1998 or 1999. Just like
it
this
had like a
very
King Ghidorah
cool.
like song
Yeah.
on there, like I
Yeah,
forget the name of this.
totally.
Yeah, but like it was just like total like the word flips were just like so
Hmm.
like I'm like this is listen, at the end of the day, what you do sometimes is like the Dillinger Escape Plan of hip hop. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Where
for
it's like
sure.
you're
Pow,
basically
pow, pow.
it's just different, And then you get like, like a Googie or a Young Daddy, and they have the more traditional. So
Hmm.
then the mixture of the both for sure, like, so
Right.
you're like, oh, okay,
It's a
like,
relieving point. I start off the album really hard. I started off with zero instrumentation. That's how I got the beat. Blood Money sent me that beat for Emblems. It fades in. And I was like, all right, that's how I'm going to write to it. And then, you know, Home Cooked is also very industrial and heavy. So I was like, let's put Elementary Space Madness third. That is the third track. You know what it is. You put your fucking third track. It's the hit.
yeah,
Right. You want to like punch him in the face with that one in a fun way. Give him a big sloppy wet kiss with the third track. And I was like, Young Daddy has created something that is now the third track. So I crafted my verse carefully. And I needed Googie on that. It took him like a year to get me the hook, but I wasn't in a rush.
yeah,
And then I got people to play. I got the band that I tour with to jam over it, and I ended up adding like that extra organ. That's my dude Andrew, who I tour with Basil and the Supernaturals, just to like give it some extra flavor. I'm so glad that Young Daddy came correct on that. Not that I've never heard her flub a verse. Just to get the track from her was like, all right, that's it. Here we
yeah.
go.
I mean, that's the whole thing. Like, if you're building off of that, that's
Yeah, there you go. Made it easy.
you're
Thank
ahead of the
you.
game.
Thank you, Young Daddy, aka DJ No Requests is what she goes by now. And she's
Love
out
that.
there making music and hot sauce, spreading it
Nice.
around.
We all
Hmm.
love hot sauce. Keep them alive. That's another hard beat. I like that.
Yeah.
I just like those brooding, like it's like that one note.
Hmm.
Um, Off the top of your head, are there any songs you could think of that you wish you had a verse on? Anything that you're like, man, I wish I rapped on this song.
In the world?
Yeah.
Oh man, this is a crazy question.
Yeah, I know.
So there are often like beats that my homies get from producers I know that I'm like, damn, I wish that I would have had that before them
Yeah.
and ripped it up. But now that they're on it, I did it a lot in the Karma Kids where they'd be like, get on this song. I'd be like, you already murdered the song. It's
Yeah.
yours. It's okay, but it's yours. And then there's a lot of songs that I wish I was on because they're so good. But like, I don't like take a selfish route when I collaborate, right? So it wouldn't actually happen that way. Damn, this is a crazy question. Um,
Like I'm thinking like what's that fucking song? Uh oh,
there are posse cuts that I would love to be a part of.
Getaway Car. Getaway Car.
Getaway Car,
Yeah.
Cage's the way that he kind of slurs his words
Yeah.
in the second verse kind of informed how I go. The folds in my brain matter display patterns that take after arcane sacraments when traced backwards. That's a total like Cage mumbly moment for me. And Breeze, I mean, that is a crazy song.
That's a
Yes,
crazy song. Yeah, yeah.
I would have I would have loved to eat up that track. And that Rob Sonic posse cut on Telecatessen.
Yeah.
I've always been like, damn, if I would have met Rob Sonic, 7 years earlier, I wonder if I could have hopped on that posse cut.
Yeah. Yo, Sonic Sum. I mean,
Sonic Some,
crazy,
films,
man. Yeah, yeah,
crazy.
for
Plaster
sure.
Man, great music. Shout out Rob Sonic. What up, baby?
A couple of more songs from the new record. Junkyard Innovation, like basically you're like dumpster diving,
Yeah.
creating a bunch of stuff. But you're dumpster diving. And just out of curiosity, are there albums that you would find in the dumpster that you feel are underappreciated, that some people might have thrown away, that maybe they just need to give them a second glance, you feel?
So only built for Cuban Links 2.
Oh, yeah?
Oh,
Yep. Is a
Get out
really
of
good
here.
album. I just listened to it again about 6 months ago and was like,
Me too.
damn. Like there's some fluff on there, but 75% of that album hits. Ghostface's story about getting his dick sucked
New
and his
Woo.
little, oh my God, New Woo, it ends great. There's
The Elton John sample song
the Elton
with
John
Dak.
sample song.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Ghostface goes off on that record.
I
Uh,
listened to it because we had Tim from Tim Alaska
mhm,
or Alaska Adams,
yeah,
and on his podcast, Call
yeah.
Out Culture,
Mhm.
they went back and listened to Only Built for Cuban Links
Oh
too.
yeah, I got to listen to that episode. I haven't
Yeah,
heard that
it's
one yet.
really good. And I was like, you know what? I was like, that's a good question because I remember like he took a necro beat. There was a bunch
Hmm.
of like it was just so long. I think it had like 24 songs.
There's a Dre beat or
Yeah.
two on there.
Yeah,
Like he really goes in. The production is wild. We got that album at a Barnes and Noble, me and Banana, and then put it in the CD player and brought the bong with us. Like,
nice.
ODB's second album is my favorite ODB album. It starts off with three Neptunes beats. It has "Baby I Got Your Money" and a Rick James uh, cover on it, which I just like love the beginning of that album, and I think that could draw people in if they would give it a chance. Everybody's caught up on Return.
Me.
I just yeah, yeah. I mean, it's great. It's great,
No,
but
but like
like
I never
that second one's
connected with that
incredible.
second album.
It's so good.
Yeah, I didn't either.
Give it another shot. It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
something else. I
All
mean,
right.
we didn't get much from the man.
Junkyard
That second
Innovation.
No,
album, Junkyard
that's true.
Innovation. So the creator of the Game Boy, um, he's famous. He was famous for using obsolete technology to innovate, right? And he took like a calculator screen and turned it into a
Oh,
video
very
gaming
cool.
platform, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Nintendo, the Wii used like some old graphics chip that made it affordable, and they were never looking to make something that was realistic looking. And then they got to spend money on like motion sensors and stuff and still sell it for cheap. And I listened to this pod. Oh my God, it's such a good episode. What was this? The Wizard and the Bruiser, the history of the Game Boy. That's a good episode. And I had just heard that, and I used to always make little robots in the garage. And I put on that beat, and I had 9 beats for Emblems. So I put on the beat for Junkyard Innovation, and I like drank a few beers and just like wrote most of that song in a night.
Yeah.
And the rest of the album, you'll notice the difference now that I bring it up. The rest of the album I like built up. So Blood Money sent me these beats, but I like added drums and added instrumentation and like add flourishes. But Junkyard Innovation was the last one I did, and I didn't have time to fancy it up at all. I just recorded it and then rewrote some of it and recorded it again 3 days later, and that was the song. And I mean, I love that track. I got a video coming out for it real soon.
Oh, cool.
And I feel like that was the vibe I initially wanted to go for with the album, which was like kind of lo-fi, understated drums, but I can't help myself. I just went wild
Yeah.
and made everything big. But it kind of fits because Junkyard, innovation. Just like pull it out, blow it off. There you go. You don't need to try too hard. It can just kind of be what it is.
There's 10 songs on the album. It's called Emblems. And I'll put a link to everything. The last song I'm going to ask you about, so we could bring it back to time. No Time to Spare.
Mhm.
Talking about cherishing, time is a companion, reminds us to cherish every moment. Today, with everything that I mean, whatever life has brought you, what are some things that you just no longer take for granted that you cherish now?
My own time. I used to give it away a lot. I like to help people. I like to be the guy that people can go to. And I eventually realized there were too many people in my life that the only time I interacted with them was when I texted them happy birthday
Mhm.
and they texted me back thanks or not. You know, I realized that I was taking a lot of energy and putting it elsewhere and then getting nothing in return, and that I was running out of energy for the first time in my life. I think that we all simultaneously are afraid we're going to die at any moment, but think that everything's going to last forever, right? Uh, they say leave the past behind you like you could bring it with you if you tried to. Same time, nobody want to study history anymore. We're caught in a time loop, right? That's on the first track. I feel like it's such a conundrum to be human and to struggle against time. Um, that that quote at the very end of that song Picard says to Riker in one of the Next Generation movies, and I just like made it rhyme a little bit. But it's that a friend of mine once told me that he felt like time was a predator who stalked him, relentlessly, and I'd rather think of time as a companion that reminds us to cherish every moment. I'm also working really hard on not regretting. You think back like, oh, I could have done that different. Oh, I could have done that different. That you couldn't have because you didn't, and you're still here, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's like
Mhm.
something that I like really try to focus on as I move through. And the metaphor for that song of a person working at a diner and just convinced that they are one day going to be a best-selling author as they write down these super cliche plot lines for a novel that they're never going to publish and just stuff them in their sock drawer next to their tip money, right? I pulled that from a episode of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, or issue of Neil Gaiman's Sandman, and that to me just illustrates that so many of us are unaware of the way that we're wasting our time. Like, if you really want to be a best-selling author, quit your job. If you want to be a touring musician, there's never going to be a good time to do it. Just book some shows and hit the road. Broke. Don't worry about where you're going to
Yeah.
sleep. You can sleep in your car. Like,
Yeah.
just do the damn thing. Now, I've always done the damn thing for 75% of the things I want to do, and I'm really just trying to break through to 100. I'm just trying to push myself even further to always do the damn thing as I, start needing an extra nap because Lord knows the vessel continues to weaken. Uh,
And
but
and things like, for me, because I'm not a touring musician, I don't really go out there that much. Like Spotify is like the big thing for me, but for indie artists, I would imagine Bandcamp is
yeah,
really kind of like the most important thing, right? Because it's such a
yep.
like direct to customer thing, and
hmm
people could support you through there. So I would imagine that's what you want to push, right?
Oh yeah. I mean, I don't even put my stuff out on Spotify and the rest of the DSPs until it's been out on Bandcamp for at least 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I've found that people want an opportunity to support you fiscally and actually buy your music. And when you get my stuff from Bandcamp, you get sometimes alternate artwork. You get an entire lyric booklet with credits, and it's yours now. You can have it. Spotify doesn't give a fuck about you. Those servers go down. You don't have any of that music anymore. That's all
Yo,
gone.
don't tell
Mhm.
me that. Don't tell me that, please. I worked hard on that.
Buy the
Yeah.
music you like. Buy the music you like because it's
Yep.
Gonna
the
have,
power goes out. You don't can't connect to those
I'm gonna
servers.
have to re-record that.
Buy
uh,
Film too. Got to buy that too. Once the
a
streaming,
DVD player.
Yeah.
Ugh,
Yeah.
movies
I've
look
been
so
getting
bad
back
on
into that
streaming.
shit.
Good, yeah. They look
Yeah.
so
I
good. The
got some
black sources.
4Ks. I got into that market. It's great, man.
Yes, it's
4K
beautiful.
market.
Yeah.
And to go back to cherishing things, like you like an album, buy it. It's gonna sound much better. Do the Pepsi
hmm
test. Like, it sounds better when you own the thing, when it's a wave or an MP3 as opposed to streaming it. And it looks 100 times better when it's a DVD and not just a streaming movie. Like, sure, stream your two-screen shows, but like pay for some art. You're out here paying for bullshit. Pay for some art, people. You will enhance your life. It's not even just about the artists. Enhance, like, treat yourself to some actual high quality shit every now and then, people.
You
You'll be
you
happier.
you hear it here.
I'm going to see the new Coppola movie at 9:20 on a Wednesday by myself. That's how much
Yeah.
I want to support, and knowing it's going to be terrible from what I
Yeah.
understand.
Whatever.
But
Who
that dude
cares?
took like so much of his own scratch, like that whole
Yeah,
story with that shit, man. I
yeah,
mean,
I'm
God,
looking
I
forward
heard
to it.
it's
yeah,
awful, but I'm gonna see it in IMAX with a laser and shit. It's gonna be
Yep.
fucking dope.
yeah.
Get it.
That popcorn's gonna bang hard.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I
Um,
just saw The Substance. We don't have time to talk about it, but go see The Substance.
We
That
can get
shit's
into it
crazy.
quick.
yeah, let's get
Yeah.
so
What'd you think?
I mentioned it, right? So I mentioned you told me that for me mentioning it and someone else, one of your friends saying you got to go see it. You're like,
Yep.
oh, this idiot said go see it, so I'm gonna
Yep.
go,
Just
right? So
based on you. Yeah, I was like, well, he told me to see it, and my friend was like, this one's out, and I was like, don't know what it's about. I'm gonna go see it. I
what'd you
gotta
think?
tell you, I had no idea I was a chauvinist.
Oh,
I had no clue.
welcome.
Dude, I don't know. I don't know if anybody's gonna watch that movie and not be like, "Oh shit, we're all part of the problem."
Oh, I was just first of all, I think Margaret Qualley like had like prosthetics and stuff like that, so she had like all this like fake stuff. Like I think
Hmm.
like Demi Moore, because I couldn't
Boo.
believe it. I'm like watching her, and I was like, she's fucking pretty naked. And the thing for me is like,
It's very
you know,
naked.
the adoration I have for Demi Moore, like growing
Oh
up,
yeah.
like I just had the biggest crush on her when she was in Indecent Proposal.
Hmm.
I was just like, wait, you're gonna give her $1 million? Like that
Yeah.
plot line was so crazy. But the substance was just like unbelievably jarring. Like as soon as you start
So,
watching it,
yeah.
Dennis Quaid starts eating those shrimp, and you're just like,
Yep, that's the moment.
wow,
I knew
right?
I knew it was gonna be like that when she got the olive out of the martini glass. I was like, "Oh no, this is gonna be really gross." And it was just a beautiful movie.
Yeah.
It was like such a fun movie that the way that they pulled that off, because it's so grotesque and it's so like you have to analyze yourself hard throughout that movie, and it like tricks you into looking places, it then chastises you for looking. It's brilliant, but it's also just really fun. And
Yeah.
the way that they pulled that all off just was just fascinating. Best movie
Well,
I've seen in
the
theaters in a long
the
You know what I
time.
liked
yeah.
about it too is, for me anyway, like, there's so many films that I'm like, I'm waiting for the new Nosferatu, the Eggers movie, like for months and months and months, and a trailer drops this and that. This one for me, like, I didn't know shit
Me
like
neither.
about this movie coming out or anything about it. Wasn't bombarded by trailers showing you all kinds of shit.
I
So going
was
in blind, fantastic. Oh, were you?
because
I,
I follow Coralie from the movie Revenge. So
ah,
Revenge was
yes, yeah,
the
true.
movie Revenge was like I Spit on Your Grave, but shot like gorgeous. And it's like
Mm.
just this like vile movie, but it looks fucking amazing with the neon colors. So once that movie dropped, you know, like it's like, oh, you know, Coralie that directed this movie has fucking Margaret Qualley, Dennis Quaid, and Demi Moore in this movie, and I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, that's crazy, and that's
I
Yeah.
love that. I can't wait to watch like her career. You know what I mean? Like we
Yeah.
got like a real auteur here. Like
Yeah,
it's
for
awesome.
sure.
oh,
In the early
absolutely,
stages. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, she basically made the best body horror movie of like since probably The Fly. Like, what
Yeah.
body horror movie was better than that? Like, are
Yeah.
you fucking kidding? Yo,
What
you
did
talk
Cronenberg? Did Naked Brunch come out after The Fly?
80s, yeah. Oh
Mm.
no, yeah.
Cronenberg has a few after The Fly that are really good, but yeah, in recent history, definitely. I haven't watched a modern body horror movie that was this
Don't
fantastic.
watch the last Cronenberg.
Uh,
Oof. What the fuck was that called again, man?
Crimes of the Future.
yeah.
He
I
had
do.
another
God, I
movie.
hated it.
His first movie was called Crimes of the Future. It's a much different film.
Yes.
That's
And
I
I
liked it because
love
it
so
was
his
funny.
son,
His son,
His son's crushing it.
Possessor
he's
and
been putting
Infinity
it
Pool
out.
Killer.
Yeah, he's
The
been putting it
Yep.
out.
daughter, the daughter made a movie called Humane, which I do not care for, but I love the plot.
Hmm.
But either way, man, it's just killer. The substance is awesome. It's gonna be
Yeah,
very hard to top that movie.
it's gonna be hard to top that movie.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So, Pat, man, thanks for hanging out. Thanks
Yeah,
for
man.
talking
Been
some
awesome.
Thanks, man.
music
Great
and
to see you.
all that other shit. And I'll put the links up and kill it in Brooklyn tomorrow. And
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
we'll talk soon, buddy.
Yeah, looking
Thank you,
forward to
man.
it, man. Thanks again for having me on,
Nice
guys.
to meet you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Nice to
you know
meet you
what
as
you do?
well.
If you can, send me like a picture for the episode. I'm gonna put it out Friday.
You got it. I'll send it to you tonight or tomorrow, all right?
Yeah, later, guys.
Peace.
The people that rise in this industry are people that take pride in their work, that carries you very far in a sense of your persona as a cook or whatever. But that doesn't translate at all into money, into essentials, time to live. It just means that you're targeted.
We're living in a material world, and I'm a material witness, sifting through centuries of empirical evidence. I'm no miracle worker, but I do a damn good impression. Open up that third eye if you don't mind my custom-made equipment. Yeah, I'm booking sessions. Crashed on more couches, staying with someone's fond memories than I can remember. Got paid to rock a set there, what do I care? Googie in the armchair. Getting bigger checks gets expensive. expensive, so I hear. Suddenly everybody wanna stay at the Best Western. Kinda evens out eventually, you just gotta ride the momentum. Find your vehicle will forever be pedestrian. You're probably cutting corners if you're not second guessing, but there isn't always time for 20 questions. Person, place, thing, or apprehension manifest that I'm trying to speak more directly because I feel like nobody gets me, but my tongue functions independently from the rest of me. Just keeping it together raw ostensibly. Rocking the same existential stressors as yesterday, like, can you tell that I slept in these? If it's not worth defending, then it's not worth mentioning. Yeah, it's all fun and pen games till respect turns to envy. If I'm wrong, let Nurse Ratchet correct me. Let's skip the pleasantries, see, it ain't always just drum pads and notebooks. Gotta take the heat to keep it home cooked. It ain't always just blunt raps and dope hooks. I need the technique to keep it home cooked.
By the time I was shot, like, about 10 years, it's hard not to